Once upon a time, not that long ago, in a place much closer than you might imagine, there's a group of people out deep sea fishing when a big storm came up and they were shipwrecked. There were only 3 survivors who landed up on a desert island together. They didn't know each other well, but they got to know each other. They had to get to know each other because they needed each other to survive and build shelter and find food, find a way to live in this new place. One day they were walking along the beach, and one of the guys saw a bottle laying there. He picked it up, knocked the sand off it, and poof, out jumped the genie. Out jumped the genie and said, "I will give you each a wish, anything your heart desires. I'm so grateful to be out of the body, out of that bottle." And the first guy said, "Well, I've been eating a lot of seafood here, and I'd love to be in a really nice restaurant in New York eating a big fat steak surrounded by all kind of wine and good food and loving people." Poof, he disappeared. Second guy said, "Well, I've always wanted to be a movie star. I'd like to go to LA and be surrounded by the rich and beautiful people and star in a big blockbuster hit." Poof, he disappeared. Third guy said, New York, eating great food, or hanging out in Hollywood, lots of people being rich and famous. I just don't know what to decide. I wish my buddies were here to help me make up my mind. Poof. I know, it's a silly story. An old story, you may have heard it before. But it points to the fact that we all are co-creators of our reality, and that everything we think and do and say affects the people around us. At a time when many of society's walls are crumbling and people are fumbling around trying to figure out how to be in a new economy on a planet that is literally boiling itself and poisoning itself and increasingly trying to keep the dangerous other at arm's length because they might have bombs or, God forbid, a different religion or a different way of cooking or looking or being. At a time when increasingly people are called to find simple answers and higher, thicker walls and bigger, more secure locks, I believe you and I and those of us who are aware of other possibilities are called to a sense of conscious co-creation. The notion that whatever we do affects others and that we have a choice about what we do at any given moment, under any circumstance, regardless of how sad, glad, scared, or joyful, or fearful, or angry we may be. At each point, we have an opportunity to choose our response and to choose what vibration we send into the world. Now, this is not new awareness, but it is a new possibility because we now understand the science and psychology of evolution points us toward cooperation, not competition, toward sharing, not hoarding. That we as a species have a chance to consciously choose how we evolve into the next place of our being. As evolve we must if we're going to survive on a hotter planet in a more dangerous environment with more and more people having drones and bombs and guns. The world is not going to go back to the way it was when Ozzie and Harriet were the king. And it doesn't matter who says otherwise or how loudly he or she may say it or how much money they spend getting elected to office to try to lead us back to the good old days. They are gone. So the question becomes, how do we move forward with hope? And I believe it is the path of conscious co-creation. What Matthew Fox calls creation spirituality, what Gene Houston calls the possible human, what Barbara Marx Hubbard calls conscious evolution, what I choose to call conscious co-creation because I'm an artist. I like to think in terms of creation. But whatever you call it, the process remains the same. It's a process of knowing that we are not doomed by our past, but called by a future. That we are not victims of circumstances, but creators of new possibilities. If we choose to be. If we want to be victims, if we want to stay stuck in the past, if we want to stay locked behind bigger doors, if we want to keep trying to find solutions to keep trouble out there, go ahead. Good luck with that. But those of us who've looked deeply can see that way is over. And a new way is emerging. And it need not be heavy and it need not be hard because it can be shared. That's the whole point of conscious co-creation. We are on a desert island together, folks. There is no away from the earth. And yes, I know we're exploring Mars and we're going to have a landing on Mars probably very soon, probably within the next 5, certainly 10 years, there will be humans on Mars. 5 of them. Leaving only 8 billion, or maybe by then 9 billion of us cooking, boiling, thirsting, hungering, fighting here. Unless we choose otherwise. Not when our leaders show us how to do it, not when Congress passes a law to make it possible, but when we the people choose to live from a different place. A place of remembering that each of us is alone. Yes, absolutely. As much as I love my wife dearly, as much as I love you, someday I will die in this physical body and I will be alone. And 15 minutes later, you'll have a nice eulogy and maybe a memorial service, and 20 minutes later, you'll move on without me. That's what it is. I am alone, you are alone. But we are alone together. And we are alone together with each other, with our loved ones, yes, that's easy. But also we are alone together with the stranger. We are alone together with the earth itself. We are alone together with a guiding spirit. And whether you call that God or Allah or the goddess or the Buddha, or if you don't call it anything at all, there is something larger than you and me calling us to be conscious co-creators and to feel and explore our potential as co-creators, because we all have unlimited potential to affect ourselves, our environment, and those ones around us, and strangers alike. Each and every one of us has an opportunity to join our buddies in New York and Hollywood or call them back to the smallness of where we are now. And I say, why not cheer each other on? Why not remember that each of us is heir to an embodied wisdom? Literally in our bodies is a huge wisdom that most of us have forgotten how to tap into because we're so busy eating or watching or buying or selling or working and that we forget to inhabit our bodies fully, to breathe into our beingness now and now and now, and tap into a wisdom which is much bigger than our brain's wisdom. A wisdom which is embodied and is connected to all the beings that ever have been on the planet. And is connected to all the beings that ever will be on the planet. Because we now know that beyond this time-space continuum, there is a consciousness on the planet. It's being scientifically proved in all areas of neuroscience, of astrophysics, of metaphysics. There are concrete tests going on. We don't need to wait for more data to validate the ancient wisdom that we are connected to something larger than each other. Larger than ourselves, for sure. Larger even than the planet herself. We are called into the mystery of that largeness and to stop trying to figure it out. Our brains will not get us out of the mess that they got us into. our intention to create ever bigger walls and ever faster cars and ever smarter computers and ever more safe places to live behind ever bigger locks has gotten us to a place we cannot sustain. 1 billion of us have gotten away with having a very affluent lifestyle and pretending we could keep the badness over there. Over there, over there. Syria, Turkey, Afghanistan, Mexico, over there at the south side, outside our gated community, over there. That's where the other people, we have, but the other 8 billion on the planet have been watching TV and checking it out on the internet, and they want freedom too, and they want food, and they want cars, and they want air conditioning, and they want house, and we cannot live the unsustainable path that 1 billion of us have been living with 8 billion of us. We have to totally rethink that dynamic, and who knows what that means? I don't. I certainly don't. I'm a dreamer. And the dream I'm dreaming is a big dream. And it's not me alone. There are countless people on the planet who are feeling hopeful, who are wanting to look beyond themselves and beyond their community and beyond their whole habits, who are hungry to live into an answer. And we have to stop thinking that we're the only ones who feel this way, that there's just a few of us against all of them. No, no, no. There are many, many people just like you who know there's another more positive, powerful, and sustainable way to live. And we can find it together if we let go of our need to know how and to have a nice, clean, easy answer that can be fixed in 2 minutes, preferably within our budget. Have to think beyond that, feel beyond that. And one way to do that is to befriend the mystery and the silence through prayer and meditation. To come up again and again into the place where you just don't know and open to something larger than yourself. We are called to surrender ourselves so that we can claim victory for all of us. Trying to win for myself is the path to defeat for all of us. And I say that as a very selfish guy. I know that about myself. I know that this is a very vital and serious business and that I have no business trying to do it because I don't know anything. And I'm selfish and I'm small. I know that. And I open into the mystery, and I claim the dream, and I proclaim to myself today, as I did yesterday, as I will tomorrow, that a new way is possible, that this is very serious, but I don't have to take myself seriously. That we can't come to this new way by working harder and smarter. Harder and smarter isn't necessarily the way forward. Relaxing a little bit, playing more, dancing more, singing more, being together face to face, not just in cyberspace, but face to face with others, especially others that we don't know. Reaching beyond into each other's depth by being willing to reach into our own depth. To let go of the need for easy answers and open to the promise that all is well and all shall be well. Back in the early 70s, there was a little boy named David who was born with a completely compromised immune system. And his parents knew that he would be born with this situation because he had an older brother who had the same disease, the same compromised immune system, who died shortly after birth. And so the parents sought out the best help they could find to help their second child stay alive. So the scientists at NASA came up with the bubble. Anybody here old enough to remember the boy in the bubble? David Vetter was his name, 1971. NASA came up with this plastic bubble in which you could live, completely isolated from the rest of the world, so he would never contact any germs because any one germ would have killed him within minutes. That's the nature of his disease. Clear plastic bubble. I'm wanting to say it was 10 feet, so it wasn't huge, but he could live. And he could see his parents and the people who loved him and his caretakers who would reach in with special arms built into special bags so his needs could be taken care of. He lived in there for 7 years. And when the technology had improved to such a point that NASA came up with a suit that he could wear that would still be a bubble around him, but would allow him to move outside of the 10 square feet and just be anywhere he wanted on the planet as long as he was in the bubble. So the big day came. They found a way to put the suit on him. They took the bubble off, and what did the boy do? He sat in the corner where he'd been for the previous 7 years, unwilling, unable to conceive that he was free to move into a larger space. We, each one of us, are invited to move out of the bubble and recognize there are no limitations on our capacity as conscious co-creators. As we live in peace and freedom and sustainable lifestyles, alone, together. At least, that's my story, but I'm sticking to it. Thank you.